Okay, so this is gonna be a longer form video, me talking just about like my life and how I grew up and stuff like that. But anyway, like it's just weird having grown up where like on one side of my family I'm the whitest person there is, and on the other side of my family I'm the darkest there is. Which I know you look at me and you're all like, oh well, you don't have super a lot of melanin, and it's all like, well, yeah, of course not, because one side of my family were, are when white met white, and the other side of my family are all basically just this continent, and we're indigenous, or we're Spanish, or we're the only like common denominator on both sides is that I'm Irish. I'm always very interested in history, so like I asked my grandma like where we came from, because like I wanted to know. And for me, I didn't meet my dad, who was you could is the Caucasian side of my family. I didn't meet them until I was about 4, and so I was only with them on the weekends, so it's not like I really got a whole lot of their culture, if that makes any sense. I mean, I did a little bit kind of later in life, mostly just because I like history, like I was saying. And so what was like, well, we're native, and we're Mexican, and we're Spanish, and we're Irish for some reason. And I always thought that was really weird that we're just inexplicably Irish. But and it's pretty cool, is that during the Mexican American War, and this will kind of come into what I was talking about later, um, maybe in another video, just depending on how I'm feeling. Um, where during the Mexican American War, there were specifically brigades of Irishmen uh, in the American armies, because people forget that like the Irish were very looked down upon. Like like they were not seen as bad as the Mexicans at the time, for obviously because there's a war going on, but they were not liked either. So they were sent to go fight the Mexicans in the Mexican American War, but they found out pretty quickly that like they had a lot of commonalities, like you know, as at the time Mexico, and I think still predominantly a Catholic culture, and so is Ireland. And so you have that, and also that like the cultural appreciation for each other. So they ended up defecting from the American side and going and fighting for the Mexican side during the Mexican American War. And so I'm pretty sure that's where my ancestor comes in. Is probably he or she, probably he, is one of those men who defected and was like, nah, the Mexicans are better, and they're treating us like humans. So, so how I grew up was kind of just like weird, because I asked my grandma like what it was like for her, and she grew up in a time where like Mexican was seen as bad, because like that California is one of the newer states of the United States, and that like when they were folded in to the when we became part of the United States, California and stuff, the northern Native Americans, basically, you were looked even more down upon. So like for my grandma, she would tell me about having like her the food she brought to school be like ridiculed and stuff like that, and told as like ew, how could you eat that, like, which is really funny, because for me, I always looked at her when she said that, and was just like, but we get burritos every day, like every other day at lunch, and nobody even bats an eye. And it shows you like over time how things change. But her grandma and her mom were very much, do not talk about our Native American heritage, because it's one thing that we are Mexican and Irish, and at the time they're looked down upon as being like, half breeds and stupid crap like that or whatever, even though like any scientist will tell you that like diversity is the name of the game when it comes to offspring. But I digress. So to go back to what I was saying was that uh, after I found out about this, I was like, "Well, what's our native culture then, Grandma?" And she said, "Well, unfortunately, she really didn't know because this is you know you have to understand several generation like two generations of erasure at this point, where I'm asking my grandma, who her mom's mom." Would have been the closest to the tribe and remembering some of the old practices. Um, but she never gave that information to my grandma because, like I was saying, is through assimilation, they you take away that point of people's like identity, and so more and more digging. I found out that, like, specifically, I'm more than likely from the Shirakawa Apache tribe, which is really cool, but also really, really sad because specifically the Kawa culture is one of the bigger losses of the Apache people, where there's the Shirakawa language has less than 1,000 speakers currently, and it's one of the things in my life that I would really like to maybe explore and become maybe not fluent in, but like I would love. Well, of course, I'd love to be fluent in it, but when you have a language that's less than 1,000 speakers, that's dying essentially. It's going to be very hard to keep that going. By the it's really sad for me because there's a lot of loss of culture there, and for me, I always kind of feel weird about it because one side of my family are, like I said, like very, very white, where like the other side of my family are basically mostly indigenous up until the more recent generations. And like I mourn the loss of my people's culture, but I don't claim it to be my culture because, like, unfortunately, I'm so divorced from it. Just because that's the way existence works. But hopefully through talking and being open about how I think things should be, maybe things will change. So until next time, like, comment, and subscribe.